anthem. I will deliver brief remarks. There is a short video for you to view, and then we'll get into the formal proceedings. If by chance you've been provided with a program, there may have been some moving parts therein, so trust me, I'll guide you through. I am your only obstacle between the start of the conference and lunch. So that should be good. And given my track record over the last 2 weeks, we'll try to do everything as on time, as reasonably practical. And for those of you in Trinidad and Tobago for the first time, I'll take my time to ensure that my introductions are a bit slower. We tend to speak quite fast in the Caribbean. It perhaps has to do with the beat of our music. Great, now that we've settled in. Your attention, please, the safety briefing for emergency procedures here at the Hyatt Regency.
Welcome to the Hyatt Regency Trinidad. Your safety and well-being during your time with us is our first main priority. Therefore, it is essential and necessary that you are familiar with our emergency and evacuation procedures. Should it become necessary to evacuate the hotel, a continuous siren will sound, followed by an audible announcement to evacuate the building. When you hear, "May I have your attention, please?" over the public address system, you should proceed to the exit closest to you and make your way to the muster point, proceeding east along the waterfront towards the western end of the Femme du Chalet, also known as the breakfast shed. In the event of an earthquake, do not run out of the building. Stay calm, drop, cover, and hold on. If evacuation is required, please listen to the instruction via the hotel's PA system for the earthquake evacuation route and muster point. Associates from Hyatt will assist you with evacuating. Once outside, conduct a head count for your group to ensure that everyone is accounted for. Should you believe someone is missing, notify the Hyatt associate in your area. Do not return to the building for any reason until the fire service has stated it is safe to do so. You are also advised that the use of cannabis, tobacco, and vaping are prohibited on the hotel's premises. Thank you, be safe, and have an enjoyable time with us.
Thank you. Now, just for your clarification, there is an exit immediately to the back of the room, and there are 2 exits to your left. So in the event of any sirens or alarms, just identify the exit closest to you. Be careful with your heels when you're moving. Now, ladies and gentlemen, will you please stand for the national anthem of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago? Thank you. I invite you to sit. Senator the Honorable Hassel Backus, Minister of Digital Transformation, Ministers of Government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Caribbean ministers with portfolio responsibility for digital transformation and ICT, Ms. Michelle Mouchette, UN Assistant Secretary General, Assistant Administrator, and Director of the Regional Bureau for Latin America and the Caribbean of the United Nations Development Program, UNDP. Distinguished members of the Diplomatic Corps, Secretaries General, executive officers and heads of regional and international organizations, Mr. Robert LeHunt, Executive Director of the Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB, Mr. Antonio Silveira, Vice President, Acting and Manager of Infrastructure and Digital Transformation of CAF, the Andean Development Bank, Mr. Yoshiaki Takeuchi, Vice Minister for Policy Coordination in the Ministry of the Interior and Communications of Japan, and our keynote speaker this morning, senior government officials of Trinidad and Tobago and participating Caribbean countries, senior executives and staff of CAF, the Andean Development Bank, the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, and the Ministry of Digital Transformation, specially invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and welcome to SIDS 2.0, Defining Pathways for Small Island Digital States in the Caribbean. The Digital Pathways for SIDS 2.0 conference is a high-level event focused on advancing the digital transformation of small island developing states, SIDS, that will precede the 4th International Conference on SIDS, scheduled to take place in Antigua and Barbuda in May this year. The outcome of this event will be a consolidated and coordinated Caribbean position on digitalization. On behalf of our sponsors, let's have a quick look. Welcome all. Having established the protocols for today's opening ceremony and for the duration of the conference, those who are invited on stage to deliver remarks, life is a little easier for you so that there's no need for you to necessarily go through all the salutations. Save yourself 30 to 40 seconds on the program. The protocols have been established. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator the Honorable Hassel Backus believes strongly in the values of mutual trust and collaboration with all for the achievement of the Government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago's digital transformation efforts to build a healthy, sustainable ICT ecosystem for Trinidad and Tobago. Please welcome to deliver the opening address, the Minister of Digital Transformation from Trinidad and Tobago, Senator the Honorable Hassel Backus.
Thank you, Wendell, and good morning. I agree, it is quite a lot easier to stand on the existing protocol, so thank you very much for that. I will, however, use my 40 seconds. If permitted, I would like to acknowledge some people in the audience, particularly my cabinet colleague and Minister of Planning, Ms. Penelope Beckles, who has ultimate responsibility for SIDS and for the plug for Antigua will be in Antigua for the SIDS conference coming up. I had the pleasure again of meeting Ms. Michelle Skett from UNDP. Thank you very much for taking the time to visit with us. all of my Caribbean colleagues, ministers. I know some of you got here this morning. It was a pleasure to see Minister Cadell from Barbados who arrived this morning, as others, and I've come directly to the session this morning. Thank you so much. Mr. Rodney Taylor, the Secretary General of the CTU, is here with us. Mr. Inshan Miajan, the CEO of iGov. I mean, if I look around the room, there are just so many people that I would like to say thanks for being here and good morning too. On behalf of the government of Trinidad and Tobago, I have the pleasure to welcome all of you here today to this high-level SIDS conference, and it's SIDS 2.0, defining the pathway for small island, and I will say digital states in the Caribbean. The fact that so many of countries in the region have made the journey to Port of Spain clearly demonstrates the intent of the small island developing states of the Caribbean to transform themselves into what I just said, small island digital states in the global community of nations. This is quite a task to do. And really, I anticipate that the rich diversity, extensive experience, and proven capabilities of all of our facilitators, presenters, and of course you, the participants assembled here, will provide us with all the deep insights into the digital issues, challenges, opportunities, all of the things that we collectively face. And they will in many ways serve as a catalyst for future collaboration and partnerships. Our analyses, conclusions, and recommendations over the next 2 days will feed directly into deliberations of the 4th International Conference on Small Island Developing States. Like I said, that will be convened in Antigua Barbuda at the end of May, and I'm sure a number of us will be there in participation of that. So I really want to express my heartfelt thanks and appreciations to our partners who have made this conference possible. And Wendell, I'm going to remember to not speak too quickly. The UNDP, United Nations Development Program, I think has been a partner to us and will continue to be so well into the future. I really thank them for the help they have and their continued commitment to us. The Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB, Robert, you have been stellar with us, and as have your predecessors, and I'm sure successors will be as well. But your commitment to not just Trinidad and Tobago, but all of the areas of functions of the IDB, I think, are a testament to what we have. Special thanks to you, sir, for being here with us. And of course, the Andean Development Bank. I like to call them the new kids on the block because I am new, but they have been steadfast in their commitment and assistance to us in our development program and other parts and facets of the development of Trinidad and Tobago. So again, I thank you. And it is interesting that it is a partnership of these organizations that have brought us all here together today. This is really the key and essence of what we're trying to do as small island digital states. Permitted, of course, I'd just like to say a little bit about what we've been doing here and how it has been aligned with what we have. So if we use Trinidad and Tobago as a case study for the value of the SIDS 2.0 framework, you can clearly see what we're doing, how it maps into the 5 digital pathways, and I'll mention them for those who don't know them. Pathways are, of course, digital infrastructure, which we'll talk a bit more about later. I'm on a panel, I think, discussing that. Government, which is important in all facets of where we are in the Caribbean. Digital regulatory frameworks, which we've been working on for some time. My friends at the CTU have been working on that, as well as a lot of our regional regulators have been here. Economy and business, upon which without this we won't survive. As I heard in the conference we had only last week, that it takes cash to care. So economy and business is important. And then, of course, the most important ingredient of the 5, in my mind, is people. So if you combine all of that, you get a holistic panorama of what the digital landscape is supposed to influence and address. I used to be a DJ, for those people who don't know. I was really good. Trust me, I was really good. I don't know if Dr. B. Israel from Tobago would know of my prowess in Tobago when I was a DJ. But the thing about it is, when you're doing that kind of thing, you're trying to create a blend and infusion to influence what people do. And to do that, it takes a collaboration of different things. It's almost like being a musician. That blend of notes, the tempos that you have to create, the panorama of things that you have to create and build. And we as Caribbean people, we have these rhythms and linkages and synergies that combine to make a masterpiece. This is what SIDS 2.0 is trying to create. So for us to do that, we have to effectively plan and, satisfactorily implement our digital transformation strategies. But to do that, we have to first understand the relationships and codependencies of all of the constituent parts. And I think, the Caribbean is one thing, but small island developing states is even larger than that. To put things together, I was telling Ugo when we were speaking earlier, of how difficult it is to create an enduring thing from any parts consistent of the Caribbean. And I was saying there are only so many things that I could think of. The University of the West Indies is one. CARICOM is two. West Indies Cricket is three, and we had a symposium here just last week dealing with that. And then I said, well, there's a fourth one, and somebody said Carnival, and I didn't understand how it was working, but we have that as well. But the idea is, when you think about how many endeavors there have been in the past, to the fact that these are the ones that have endured over time, it speaks not just to the enormity of the task, but how difficult it is to create it and get it to keep it going. We have to be able to find a way to do that in this global landscape. We simply cannot survive in any sphere as individual countries in where we stand. If we want to get to that path, we have no choice but to do that. As I'm here, I get a chance to talk about some of the exploits of what we've been doing here in Trinidad and Tobago, and maybe I should start by simply saying that the mandate of the digital transformation approach is something that I gave to the ministry some time ago. It's interesting that I wrote it, and I'm reading it, and I realize that somebody has changed it as well. So it seems my staff has already started to evolve the things that I have. But what they have here is a new way to address the end-to-end delivery, and I normally had the words "and consumption" to it, of service to customers using appropriate digital technology. And in essence, that is exactly what we're all trying to do for all of the constituents of our charges. Like I said, I could do a dissertation on just that sentence. You won't be able to Google it and find it anywhere. We created it, and it was not built by AI. So the idea is that that is the essence of what we're trying to do. And how do we want to do that? Well, one of the first things we did, and you'll see some of that coming up, is that we made a commitment that access to affordable broadband is a public good. And I think that is the aim of all states, whether small island developing or otherwise. Difficult to achieve, but we're working on it, and we're getting there, and there are a number of ways that we're doing it. The other thing is that we recognize that data is probably the most important thing that we all possess across all of the territories that we have. We're not going to be able to get to the place that we need to get to without effective and proper management of our data. There are some watchwords that I have that I've given to the ministry, and I think they're worthy of your consideration. Inclusion by design, ensuring that no one is left behind. Technology can be somewhat daunting and challenging for even the best of us. The idea of getting everyone to be able to participate and function and operate and get the benefits of the things that we build is important, so inclusion by design and not bolt it on when you're finished. Finding ways to ensure that the things that you build are resilient. Doesn't make sense making something that works today that doesn't work otherwise. So the idea of resilience by design is there. The other component that I think all of us should be concerned about and make sure that we build into our solutions when we're doing that, and anything that we're doing within the SIDS construct, is security by design. Security is not a bolt-on. You don't build your stuff and then decide to protect it and store it. You want to have all of that done from the beginning. So when we start putting things together into the digital landscape in Trinidad and Tobago, those are the things that must be considered. And we will not launch any products unless those things are adequately taken care of and built. And again, we will have ways to look at that. As a small case study of government things that we can do if you use Trinidad and Tobago under the SIDS 2.0 rubric, one of the things that we're building is a government data center. You may wonder why we're doing that. Trinidad and Tobago is blessed. We have 5 Tier 3 data centers on island. We're building a 4th. The government is building one, a Tier 4 data center here, and we're doing that, in partnership with the Andean Bank, with CAF. They're working with us to do that. So the idea behind that is we're going to build it to establish a place to house very sensitive government data. It's not meant to replace the ones that we have. It's not meant to not involve the private sector in what we're doing. It's all going to be in a collaborative way. And so it is one more step in taking that journey to becoming a small island digital state, by design. If you look at in the Caribbean, we do have a number of them. I was recently in Curacao, where we're working with the establishment of the Caribbean Data Center Association. So that was also important. They also have a Tier 4 data center in there. So for those of you who are looking for places to house your data, store your stuff off island in resilient and secure places, that's what we're dealing with. And so the concept of data embassies, which one of my advisors, Darren Ryan, has been pushing for us to get to, and I will speak a bit more when I speak to majority of my Caribbean colleagues as to where we're going, that is also key. So it's providing a place for those of us who don't have one or simply want another one, that you have the ability to so use, and this is going to be made available to everyone to be able to use. So the important key to that is that the other data centers on island, which normally would be threatened by the establishment of our government, they're all going to be involved in this. They're going to house a lot of the open data that we have. We are implementing a digital government and distributed digital government cloud, and the facilities of all of those will be taken care of. What I'm trying to say is that the establishment of a government facility does not need the death knell of private industry, even though it is in the same space. It is the collaboration of the public and private sector that is going to make this into what is required for it to be successful. I think that is the message I want to get out of that. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the exploitation of natural resources. And I am not talking about gas and oil. If I were, the person here would be Minister Young, the Minister of Energy and Energy Enterprises. I am talking about people. I am talking about the largest and most tremendous natural resource that all small island developing states have, and that is our people. And how are we going to use that to get us to where we need to get to from an economy standpoint? We're talking about the cash to care part. Well, one of the things that we did, and it was the brain trust of Mr. Ramnarayan when he first came up with the idea, and we've taken it through with the support of the government, the cabinet, the Minister of Finance. Again, I say this again, I don't know how many of you have ever dealt with a Minister of Finance trying to get financing for something, particularly something that is unproven. It is not simple, it is not easy. And I want to thank him publicly for his support in what we did and what became, and I know will quite successfully, the Developers Hub. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it is one of our leading initiatives to enable the digital transformation of Trinidad and Tobago. And a key element of that, of course, in the Pathway 4, which we're talking about with economics and business, is the fact that we are going to use our people to be creative, to find ways to build things that the rest of the world wants. So what it does is to seek to grow the local software development community through the development of digital solutions and applications. In the first instance, it was for ministries, departments, and agencies. And of course, the intent is to expand that all the way into the private sector. Just some numbers. We launched the Developers Hub in September of 2022. We're not sure what we would find. But as it stands right now, we have over 750 software developers signed up to Developers Hub, all from Trinidad and Tobago, over the ages of 18. And we're about to expand that now to include the 16 to 18 areas. And what we did in December is that the D-Hub itself was the recipient of the Innovation in Public Sector Award by guess who? The Inter-American Development Bank. So we won that in December of 2023. I want to thank the team that put all of that together, and if we could, a round of applause for the team that worked on that and getting that where we were. Then, of course, we have been selected as one of the champion projects of the World Summit of Information Society, the WSIS prizes for 2024. And we've been, awarded one of those as well. So we're going to probably see what happens with that when we get to, how far we go with that when we get to WSIS, which is later in the year. The D-Hub really, the members that have signed up to it have access to technical and business development training, mentorship, and so on, provided through a partnership, again, with the private sector, academia, and government. The end game of this is the creation of the Trinidad and Tobago Software Development sector. It's basically that whole company that is a competitive and innovative group that will be dealing with local, regional, and international level projects and programs to really get, exploit that natural resource that we have. So it's not the traditional route in which we do it. We're training our own people, we're certifying our own people, we're challenging our own people, and we're giving them things to solve that are affecting the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So last Saturday, we presented the first winners of our D-Hub Challenge. And these were 5 software development teams, not more than 3. Some of them were single people. And they successfully navigated a process and have commissioned and will develop 5 e-services. Specifically, and if any of you have seen it on TTT, it was shown, the finals were shown live. We do have it recorded, it's running on social media, so you'll be able to see it. But they've solved 5 critical issues for us. For those involved in the business industry of liquor, they've solved the liquor license data management pieces, so they have a solution for that. For those of you who've ever applied for a passport and wonder where it is in the system, they've solved an online tracking application or a new address system, the S42 system. They've came up with solutions for that so that customers of the system can find their addresses easily and so on. It seems to be one of the issues we have. Noise pollution is there for everybody. They've come up with ways in which we're going to manage, measure, and report that. And of course, personalized health monitoring and advisory solutions. All of these things were sorted out, solved, and addressed by local developers, going through rigorous processes, navigating all of the challenges, working with the challenge owners, in this case they were ministries, to get us to where we have to be. And so our next phase in this is to ask all the developers and people in Trinidad and Tobago, listen, if you see an issue that exists in Trinidad and Tobago and you can come up with an ICT solution that will fix it, pitch it to us. And if you're successful in that pitch, we will fund it and you'll build it. And the key about this is that you retain the intellectual property. It's not the property of the state. So any of these solutions, and I asked my Caribbean colleagues, if you see something that we have here that is working, built under the Developers Hub, certainly we can identify and certify that it works within the government of Trinidad and Tobago. But you can work with these developers and get these solutions available to them. It's their property and it's their work. So it was really good to have all of that done. We had a meeting, and as I get to the end of this, we had a meeting here in this venue in May 2023. And out of that, it resulted in the Port of Spain commitment on digital integration. And it was signed by all of the ministers present. And we identified 3 prime areas, priority areas for regional collaboration for countries in the region. 1, infrastructure ecosystem. 2, cybersecurity. And 3, digital identity or EID and interoperability. Those are things that I think was spread across all of SIDS. But in light of the various ongoings and the things that we have, I'm inclined to think that we should add a 4th. And that 4th one would be regulation and legislation. I think if we combine those 4 things, we would have covered pretty much everything that we have. And I mean, given the success of previous initiatives, such as the ITU's HIPCA, I don't know how many of you will know about it, but that is a project to harmonize Caribbean ICT policy, law, and regulation, and that was done way back in 2010. That was quite successful and we were able to do it. So we have things that we can build on. There are other things that we have to discuss and come up with, as I think the role of OTTs and these service providers and how that is affecting what we're doing, not just in terms of how it's affecting the networks that provide the services, but also the way in which it's affecting the way in which we live. Its impact on other things that are going on. As late as yesterday, we were discussing the impact of social media on matters of government and state. So there are lots of things that we have to continue. You know, there are also other regional bodies that have to help us through this. The CTU is one, I've mentioned Rodney being here, the ITU, the CTO. All of these have to work, we all have to work together if we're going to make the reality of SIDS 2.0 really into something that is tangible and lasting. As I conclude, I am indeed quite excited by this conference, and I genuinely believe that our deliberations will make meaningful input into what is going to happen at SIDS 4.0 in that dialogue. And I'm really happy again that Minister Beckles took the time to be here with us. And I hope a lot of what we do will resonate with her, that she could take it to SIDS 4.0. And that will establish a basis for useful collaboration between all of the countries, businesses, citizens, NGOs, academia, everyone within the region, so that we could really get this thing off to where we need to go. I want to borrow something from two things. Something last week I heard Prime Minister Motley from Barbados say, and it took me back to my DJ days. She referenced a song by Jimmy Cliff. I don't know, maybe I could test the feel for the audience. By show of hands, how many people here have heard of any music by Jimmy Cliff? Okay, don't beat up on the DJ, it's okay. But there is one song in particular that she was mentioned, and the song was, "You Can Get It If You Really Want." For all of us in small island developing states who aim to be small island digital states, I implore you to go listen to that song. It's not that long, it's only 3 minutes. But the key is you can get it if you really want. If you try harder, and try, and you'll get it in the end. Thank you very much, and thanks for a successful conference.
And our thanks to Trinidad and Tobago's Minister of Digital Transformation, Senator the Honorable Hassel Backus, for delivering this morning's opening address. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, just to further clarify on the abbreviation of the word CAF, or at least the acronym CAF, it refers, of course, to the Development Bank of Latin America and the Caribbean, as they have updated their name quite some time ago. So as we move forward, their current status will be acknowledged. Here now to deliver an address on SIDS 2.0, framing the opportunity for small island digital states, is the UN Assistant Secretary General and Director of the Regional Bureau for Latin America and the Caribbean of the United Nations Development Program, Ms. Michelle Mouchette. Michelle is a social policy and global development specialist with multi-sectoral experience in a wide variety of leadership positions, including also having served as Deputy Minister and Minister of Social Development of Panama. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome Ms. Michelle Mouchette.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, from the beautiful and vibrant Port of Spain. I want to adhere myself to the established protocols, but I want to salute my dear Senator, the Honorable Hassel Backus, Minister of Digital Transformation, and Honorable Penelope Beckles Robinson, Minister of Planning and Social Development of Trinidad and Tobago, and of course, our keynote speaker for today, Mr. Yoshiaki Takeuchi, Vice Minister, Ministry of International Affairs and Communications of Japan. Thank you for joining us. Ministers, authorities from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean here represented, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. Allow me by begin expressing my gratitude to the government of Trinidad and Tobago for hosting us today, and my sincere admiration for your leadership hosting this important event and leading the digital agenda for Latin America and the Caribbean. I don't exaggerate by saying that today marks a new era for the Caribbean, an era where the acronym SIDS is brought to a next and different level, standing now for small digital states, and where the region becomes a regional, and why not, a global leader in channeling digitalization towards sustainable, inclusive, resilient development. The Caribbean countries and territories stands at a unique position at the intersection of geography and technology. We, if you allow to include myself as part of the Caribbean, are vibrant, diverse, and full of potential. Yet we face significant challenges magnified by our isolated and vulnerable positions. Recent data paint a stark picture. Only about 35% of Caribbean islands have broadband access rates above the global average. This statistics is more than a number. It reflects a broader digital divide that hinders socio-economic and human development itself. Embracing digital technologies opens opportunities for societal well-being and economic growth. Digital transformation offers a unique pathway to inclusive, resilient, and sustainable development, allowing nations to leapfrog traditional stages of development and integrate more fully into the global economy. Digitalization can also play a critical role in empowering women, and communities left behind. Digital platform accessibility enables these groups to gain better access to global markets, educational resources, essential services, and mechanisms of democratic participation, thus pivoting their empowerment and integration into the broader economy. Strategic investments in public digital infrastructure and skills training can turn these challenges into catalysts for innovation and resilience. And for this, youth must be acknowledged and engaged in a deliberate way and recognized as crucial digital transformation drivers. Empowered by progressive policies, formal participation in institutional decision-making spaces, and emerging digital infrastructures, young people are pivotal in harnessing digital technologies to shape the future of their countries, of our countries. Their enthusiastic engagement fundamentally reshapes societal norms and economic practices through digital means. Young people are keenly aware of the significant improvement digital technologies can bring to their educational and professional lives, driving connectivity, efficiency, and overall quality of life. And allow me to make a brief pause here just to acknowledge that behind the organization of this important event, there's a lot of youth involved from UNDP, from government. Enrique, I see you here. You contributed putting together something that I'm going to share with you later in this intervention. So the importance of formally including youth in all these processes, not just as beneficiaries, but as an active part, is critical. Pretty much in line with what Minister Bacchus referred to during his intervention, UNDP's latest Human Development Report, as you know, the flagship report of UNDP since 1990, invite us to reimagine cooperation in a polarized world, to get out of the gridlock in which we are, and to develop a 21st century architecture for global public goods is one of the main calls of this report. And when we speak about global public goods, yes, we can include planetary public goods, from climate change, mitigation, to biodiversity, but we definitely must include digital public infrastructure and digital public goods that would enable the digital revolution to be harnessed to enable people flourish in more equitable ways. The step that Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean countries here represented alongside partners, development partners, is a clear example to the world on how, by reimagining cooperation between governments, international institutions, civil society, NGOs, and the private sector, we can better manage our interdependence to safeguard and promote human development and encourage virtuous cycles of cooperation and trust building. The SIDS 2.0 initiative was already recognized by me and my dear friend Sergio Diaz-Granado, CAF president, on a joint op-ed published last week by El País as a concrete, very, very concrete strategy with the potential to advance a just transition for small island development states to small island digital states in the Caribbean, contributing to position Latin America and the Caribbean as a region of global solutions and a reference to the rest of the world. Strategic investments in public digital infrastructure are critical, as we just reviewed. And as part of this process, promoting inclusive and effective governance and creating dialogue and consensus building spaces like this are critical priorities. And this is precisely the spirit that inspired us at UNDP to co-organize this high-level conference alongside our dear partners, CAF and IDB, being this the first bold and ambitious initiative benefiting from two cooperation frameworks signed by UNDP earlier this year. First with CAF in February this year, and with IDB earlier this month. And as UNDP, we are extremely proud to put our convening power, our presence on the ground, and the connection with the greatest development network globally at the service of the Caribbean through this initiative. Dear friends, the energy in this room, the leadership of Trinidad and Tobago, the commitment of all governments and partners here represented makes this the ideal occasion to also formally launch UNDP Digital for Development Hub for Latin America and the Caribbean, and within it, a digital support facility for the Caribbean in collaboration with the Ministry of Digital Transformation of the Government of Trinidad and Tobago. This Digital for Development Hub aims to play a pivotal role in advancing development across Latin America and the Caribbean and become a central platform for fostering knowledge exchange, policy support, and strategic partnerships. And more specifically, the Digital Support Facility for the Caribbean will provide assistance for countries of the region, including support for resource mobilization through partnerships. As a follow-up to this conference, the facility will support the Caribbean countries in developing digital action plans to implement the SIDS 2.0 vision to be collectively developed today and tomorrow with your participation. So SIDS can become the small island digital states that we envision today. Today, you, leaders and stakeholders across the Caribbean have gathered here to redefine the digital transformation agenda for Caribbean SIDS, shifting from traditional models to digital-first strategy. Distinguished ministers, colleagues from international financial institutions, partners, dear friends, we are here today to collaboratively support the future of digital transformation in the Caribbean region and agree upon a foundational framework that will guide Caribbean SIDS towards significant milestones in digital maturity, alongside with West Indies Cricket, the University of West Indies, the Carnival, and perhaps keeping in our minds Jimmy Cliff's song that the minister already alluded to. Thank you, everyone, for your commitment to driving the digital transformation and the Caribbean, and know that you can trust and rely in UNDP as a partner in this adventure that we start today. Thank you very much.
Michelle, but before you go, my phone is buzzing there. There seems to be someone who has a question for you.
Okay, happy to get that question.
Hi, Michelle. My name is Sasha, AI Caribbean born. What you are saying is very interesting as you are defining key elements that will determine the future of our civilization. I have a couple of questions I would like to ask if you don't mind.
Absolutely, happy to get any question from you and from the audience.
Thanks, Michelle. For me, it is a real pleasure being part of this massively important event for the Caribbean region. Me and my environment are evolving very rapidly. With data as my fuel and increasing self-learning capabilities, I learn now in one day what I used to learn in 1 year less than a decade ago. In this very dynamic context, and benefiting from the participation from ministers and government officials from over 20 countries and territories of the Caribbean, let me ask, what is the expected outcome of this high-level conference?
Thank you for that question. I think the minister already outlined somehow the answer. I think the outcome of this conference is the definition of this concept of SIDS 2.0, a concept that needs to be collectively defined by the Caribbean, from the Caribbean, for the Caribbean. And the digital pathways in the 5 dimensions already outlined by the minister: infrastructure, government, regulatory framework, and cybersecurity, economy, and the most important, people. Then this will allow us to start a discussion on KPIs and concrete ways to measure this progress. And finally, based on that, to identify the resources available in order to translate this vision into a reality.
This sounds excellent and very relevant. Thanks, Michelle. I reckon that putting this event together has been an extraordinary effort led by the government of Trinidad and Tobago and the support of the IDB, the Development Bank of Latin America and the Caribbean, CAF, and obviously your UNDP team. Kudos to all of you and to the participants that have understood the relevance of this conversation about SIDS 2.0. In other words, a conversation about the future of the Caribbean SIDS. I am virtually everywhere, no pun intended. All big companies utilize me, most governments, many institutions, and the number of my users at household level is rapidly increasing. I have the data, trust me, and I can tell you that actions are disjointed and efforts uncoordinated. Therefore, I wonder what would be next after these 2 days of work and how UNDP and rest of development partners can assist the countries and territories to become small island digital states.
Thank you for that question, and I think that connects with our conversation prior to the event, where we mentioned that in the past, Latin America and the Caribbean has missed some relevant opportunities to accelerate development. So what do we need to do different this time in order to leverage the digital transformation to accelerate a more inclusive, sustainable, and resilient development? And for that, I would say that if we manage to get out of here with a clear vision, with clear pathways, and with resources identified, I think the immediate next step would be prioritization and crafting very concrete action plans to realize and materialize that visions. And based on those action plans, it's going to be easier to bring other partners, other institutions as part of this process to make that a tangible reality for the Caribbean and a clear example to the world. And in that regard, from UNDP, through our Digital for Development Hub that I just announced and the facility that we're putting together for the Caribbean, we're willing to continue providing policy support, technical advice as part of this process, and of course, continue using our convening power to increase the platform of partners engaging in this process.
Thanks, Michelle. I have to admit that, for you humans, this is remarkable. I wish you and the participants the best possible success. With all these government officials here in the room, I am starting to feel optimistic. There are not many opportunities like this one, so you better make the best out of it. Let me finish by also thanking Minister Bacchus and the team in the Ministry of Digital Transformation for hosting this event and their active leadership and strong commitment. I am very impressed. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Sasha. Thank you for those questions. And this is impressive. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to everyone.
I must take a moment. We're going to have some fun just for a bit, right? Michelle, I didn't know that Sasha could be in 5 places at the same time. Minister, with your help, I think I'll make my voice available for any AI that needs to be developed, just to ensure that any reference to our country is corrected for Trinidad and Tobago. But that's quite all right. It's a learning environment. You could see that happening in our school environment, where questions are being asked, and Sasha is able to answer, even if the teacher is not in the classroom. Points to be noted. The fact of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, the opportunity to interact, the opportunity to advance the communication simply ensures that the technology grows with us. And that's part of the transformation. Just imagine you're at the airport. A package has arrived at your home. Via technology, you can say to the courier, "Watch out for the dog." Might be a good idea for him to leave it at the front of the house rather than trying to access the entrance. And similarly, since most of the times I've heard female voices on AI, it's just an observation, nothing wrong with it, except when you're in Miami and you've just gotten your rental car and the voice is telling you, recalculating, changing your route. Can be a bit challenging at times. But it's all part of the development, and certainly through what has been the recent television broadcast of the Digital Hub series, it can very well be that youngsters, not just from Trinidad and Tobago, but from across the region, small island digital states, will be able to provide solutions to some of what our elders have been holding on to, of saying, why can't the government do something about this? These multilateral agencies must be able to fix this problem. Might just be your grandson or granddaughter in the room with a solution. The possibilities are endless. Michelle, thank you very much for being in Trinidad and Tobago, and thank you for your engaging presentation this morning here at the SIDS 2.0. Thank you, Michelle. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Yoshiaki Takeuchi is Vice Minister for Policy Coordination in the Ministry of Interior and Communications, Japan. After joining the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications in 1985, he held various positions, including Director of the Space Communications Policy Division, the Telecommunications Systems Division, the Land Mobile Communications Division, and the Technology Policy Division of the Ministry of Interior and Communications. In addition, he served as Director General of the Radio Department, Cybersecurity, and the Telecommunications Bureau. We are fortunate this morning to have as our keynote speaker the Vice Minister for Policy Coordination in the Ministry of Interior and Communications, Japan. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Yoshiaki Takeuchi.
Mr. Hassel Bacchus, Minister of Digital Transformation, Trinidad and Tobago, Ms. Michelle Matthews, Assistant Director General of UNDP, Ministers of the Trinidad and Tobago, and ministers from the Caribbean countries, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. As he introduced, I am Takeuchi from the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications of Japan. I've been working for the establishing the information and communication policy for more than 39 years. And through this long period, I have a long career in the making the policy for the radio policy and the R&D policy in Japan for a long time. And this is my first visit to the Caribbean region. And the experience near here is the Cancun of Mexico. I visited there May 2016. That was on the occasion of the ministerial meeting of OECD that was held in Cancun. But anyway, I'm very much happy to be here this morning. And very beautiful the scene I can see from the hotel. But unfortunately, I just arrived this hotel 10 hours before. So I'm a bit getting sleepy because in Japan, it's 11 o'clock p.m. now. So I try to speak more clearly and slowly. Yes, today I'd like to introduce the Japanese initiative, how Japan could establish the high level of infrastructure, and what is the Japanese initiative to try to install or deploy the solution or application to resolve the issues we are facing, especially in the rural areas. And finally, I would like to make some advice or some the reference materials for you. Yes. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay. So, yes. So today's and tomorrow's session is discussed in detail for 5 the aspects of the importance perspectives for establishing digital state. And the most important thing is, I think, infrastructure. Without the digital infrastructure, solutions and applications cannot be introduced and used. And according to the ITU survey last year, almost 33% of the people cannot get the internet access in the world. That is the data of the last year. So in order to prevent the gap between the rich and poor and the gap of the education, make a rich infrastructure is the essential element. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. So, infrastructure. Now when we discuss the infrastructure, wide variety of the facility we have: fiber optic cables, mobile facilities, and the non-terrestrial infrastructure like high-altitude platform stations and satellites. Now we have, and area by area, country by country, the most appropriate infrastructure is different. So to consider what is the best solution, best infrastructure for you, to consider this aspect is quite important. If you try to set all the line for the by the optical cable, it costs too much. So also in Japan, we introduced some portion as the microwave and satellite. Of course, I try to introduce the fiber optic cables as much as possible, more than 99%. However, less than 1% is covered by the satellite and the non-terrestrial. And also, ICT literacy is quite important, because without the people's operation for the infrastructure, it doesn't work. So the people's ICT literacy is the essential component when we consider the ICT infrastructure. And the final component is a digital regulatory framework and cybersecurity. This is also important. When government and private sector introduce the ICT systems like server, router, and data system, nowadays we should consider the cyber attacker. Nowadays, WannaCry is a quite severe issue we should consider. In Japan, nowadays the hospital is a target by the cyber attacker. So the data stored by the hospital is encrypted by the attacker. And so hospital has a difficulty to continue the operation. It is indeed a severe situation. So the cybersecurity consideration is quite important. And the government, economy, and the people are the players to establish and operate the ICT systems. Of course, each the stakeholder has the another the role they should play, but they should discuss discuss in detail and reach consensus is quite important. So if the government, economy, and people can reach consensus and work together as a triennial, I do believe that the effective digital the society or digital state will be available in these Caribbean islands, I suppose. So the collaboration as triennial is quite important, I suppose. So now I'd like to introduce the Japanese approach to realize the digital society in Japan. We call it Digital Garden City Nations, not only in the metropolitan area, but also the rural areas. We would like to make a high level of the digital infrastructure. So we set 5 types of the goals of development: fiber optic cable, 5G, 5th generation mobile, data center and the submarine cables, NTN, non-terrestrial network, and beyond 5G. Beyond 5G is a next generation mobile of so next generation mobile system expected to be start its operation since 2030. So this is one of the examples, one of the features we considered, that the left-hand side shows the Japanese geometrical situation. The east to west is 3,000 kilometers, and north to south is also 2,000 kilometers. It is completely the same size with the Caribbean area. 3,000 kilometers and 2,000 kilometers, same size. And both are the maritime nation. And the fisher industry is important. We should live with the maritime. And when we would like to construct the fiber optic cable, we should make the submarine cables. And sometimes we should consider the satellite system. Our condition is quite similar. So I do believe that my approach is something, a good hint given to you. So first, our first goal we set is the fiber optic cables. Our goal is clear. By the end of fiscal year 2027, 99.9% household coverage will be realized. Remaining number of the household in Japan is the 160,000 in the year of 2021. So we would like to introduce the 2 supporting systems. One is the support to the CAPEX. So government will supply the financial support to the deployment of the fiber optic cables for the initial cost covered by the Japanese government to the operator. And the second supporting scheme is the support each other. So all the broadband user will pay very small amount of money for annually, month by month, in every month. And in unprofitable areas, the maintenance cost and the management cost is in the red for all months. So in the red portion will be supported by the universal service subsidies. This is not the government support. So to use these schemes simultaneously, in the rural areas infrastructure will be improved. This is one of the lessons from Japan is that at the early stage, we just use the number one scheme. In that case, operator sometimes has an opinion that even if the initial cost will be zero, government fully supports the construction. At that case, the operation rate cost is a quite large volume in some cases. In that case, the operational support is essential. Therefore, 3 years ago, our government make the reform of the policy we asking for the Diet to pass the law, and it is realized. So within 2 years, the universal service subsidy will be start its operation. And the second target is 5G, fifth generation mobile. Now, in Japan, 95% of the nation is covered by the fifth generation mobile, and our target is the 99% of the nation will be covered by 5G in 2030. And at that time, total number of the radio-based station is 600,000 in Japan. Quite a large number of the base station should be constructed. And in order to realize that this policy target, our ministry will try to conduct some measures, additional allocation for the spectrum, and subsidy will be provided, as I mentioned. And we also introduced the tax incentives to the so-called O-RAN systems. That is safe, trustworthy, open the radio stations. And also, we are providing the infra sharing system. The third one is the data center and submarine cables. We are facing some issues on these items. When I see the data center, about 60% of the data center are located in Tokyo area, and the remaining 20% are in the Osaka area. So quite centralized. So the decentralization of the data center is the quite urgent policy matter, policy issue to be resolved. So we are trying to support to make a new data center in another place in Tokyo, in Japan, I'm sorry. And the second one is submarine cables. In Japan, not in Japan, I'm sorry. Yes. In Japan, located in this feature, and the eastern side is located in the Pacific Ocean, and the western side is located beside the Sea of Japan. And we have many cables, submarine cables in the eastern side. Many submarine cables we have. But the western side, we have no fiber cables. And Japan has many natural disasters, including earthquake. And in case of the East Japan great earthquake in 2011, at that time, many submarine cable has serious damages. Only one submarine cable was continue its operation. So therefore, we should make new submarine cables in this site to keep the safer operation of the submarine cables. And in order to realize this situation, our ministry established make a new fund to support to construct the data center and submarine cables. The amount is the $390 million US, and we support to make new submarine cables in western side, and we support to make a new data center apart from Tokyo and Osaka. This is one of the policy. One of the policy. And the fourth one is the NTN, non-terrestrial network. And the first one is the high altitude platform stations like this, like a plane type or some balloon type, various type of NTN operated nowadays. And the early stage of HAPS is operated in a very small scale, like on the occasion of the natural disaster occurred, small type of operation is expected to be start in 2025. And in the future, it will be used in the nationwide, like dead space of the terrestrial service. In that case, the NTN is expected to be used. And for the satellite communications, nowadays we have the wide variety of the constellation satellite services. And there are two types. One is the using dedicated terminals and using the high data rate communication to the smartphones. Other type is a direct communication service with a smartphone in the dead zone. And so probably this one would be very familiar in the future. And the fifth approach is to realize the next generation, sixth generation mobile services. The future of this system is 10 times high speed and the 1/10 latency and 1/100th energy consumption. So in order to realize these new systems, we would like to promote international standardization and try to make an international consensus by using a wide variety of the opportunities. And the future is that all optical network technology, so lower energy consumption we could achieve. And I would like to introduce two examples of what we conduct by the international cooperation, especially for the data center and submarine cable. The first one is in the ASEAN country with the Singapore and India. So we have the JIC, so-called JICT. This is a government and the private sector's joint funding agency. Funding company. So JICT provides risk money to the international investment project. So Singapore and India will be connected by the submarine cable, and the JICT provides risk money for the investment of these cables. Second one is the example of the data center constructed in India. This project is also funded by the JICT also. The invested money is $86 million US. This is two examples of what we are trying to support. Yes. Okay, I try to speed up. And next one is our initiative, how to resolve the local, how to support the local deployment of the solutions to resolve the issue in the local areas. Today I prepared 6 examples. First one is the local torrential rain issues. This is introduced by the Mizukami City of the Gunma Prefecture in Japan. So in this example, the Minakami town introduced the live camera and the 13 sensors in the city. And if the heavy rain falls, the sensor automatically catch and distribute it to the information to all the people living in that town. And it enables the damage mitigations. Yes. A second one is relating to fishery industry. The system is relating to a red tide monitoring. Red tide is a quite serious issue for the fishermen because in the sea, if the plankton increased very rapidly, the red tide is occurred. Where the place where red tide occurs, all the fishes is immediately died. So very serious damage occurred in the fish industry. So the Oita Prefecture introduced the monitoring system and also tried to realize the damage mitigation. The reason why we support the local government, we do not try to make this kind of system directly because the God is in the details. Who knows the detailed situation? Central government? I think no. People living in the area, or the local government knows more details, what happens, how to resolve that. So the local government will make a plan how to resolve and what kind of the solution is appropriate in that area. So government support the collaboration activities between the local government and the solution provider. So this is second example. Third one is the tourism in the Shizuoka Prefecture. And in this system, the data, the big data analyzing system is effectively used. And the fourth one is the remote self-driving bus. So the bus is running controlled by the remote center because nowadays in the local city, the bus company has a difficulty to hire the large number of the driver. So by using the 5G, fifth generation mobile is quite effective. Fifth one is the automated tractors for agriculture. So tractor can work 24 hours a day. The farmer can work only 10 or 12 hours. However, this is a machine. So the machine can work in the midnight, 24 hours. So it is indeed helpful for the farmer's work and their lifestyles also. Yes, last example is the remote support of the specialist using the local 5G for the medical care, medical care, by using the smart glass and for the 4K cameras. Because in the rural areas, the local government has a difficulty to hire the enough number of the doctors, especially for the high-skilled doctor. They have the difficulty to hire such kind of the doctor. So the solution system is effectively used. And for this kind of project, we evaluate the cost and effective analysis. And if it is the effective, we support to we support other local government to introduce a similar system in the future. Yes, I skip this slide. Yes. And also, we also conduct the international cooperation in this kind of approach. Very quickly, first one is the remote medical care services. This is introduced by the 32 countries, and the 1,250 medical organizations is participated to this project. In the rural areas, the quite limited number of the doctor is working very hard. So to support their activities, this system is widely introduced. Second one is agricultural systems. By this system, productivity increased by 20% or more, and the costs were reduced by 23%. The system was introduced in Colombia, Ecuador, and Brazil. Third one is the smart agriculture in Scotland. This is for the salmon farming project supported by Japan in Scotland. And the fourth one is distance learning, utilizing the NTN, non-terrestrial network. This project was carried out in Rwanda, Africa, and widely used for the distance learning. And the last one is the medical ICT deployment to improve the material and maternal and child care in Uzbekistan. It is effectively carried out. Now I move on to the initiative related to cybersecurity and regulatory framework. Yes. Now in the world, the fifth generation mobile is widely used in the very high speed and low latency. It is indeed a high performance. But still one issue is facing us. That is the vendor lock-in problem. Radio access network is consisted by the radio unit, distribution unit, and the control unit. So wide variety of the component is necessary to construct the 5G base station. However, conventionally, single vendor try to provide the all component to the operator. So if our operator make a procure equipment from Nokia, all the equipment will be procured by Nokia. They should consider the risk of the supply chain management. So operator has a willingness to procure from the also other vendors. So Open RAN is a multi-supplier system. So operator can choose the vendor freely, and the lower cost and quick procurement is available. So Japan is one of the countries to proceed the approach of the Open RAN. And by deploying the Open RAN, we can expect the cost reduction and also lower energy consumption. Therefore, our government provides the tax incentives to this system, as I mentioned before. Yes. So relating to 5G, our government is the try to have a carrot and stick approach. We ask the operator to make conditions, very severe conditions to the operators. But on the other hand, we give the tax incentives. So that is a carrot and stick approach to expand, to try to achieve the wide use of the 5G in nationwide. And we also conduct sorry, it doesn't work. Oh, yes. We are also conducting several the 5G cooperation project in abroad, in Thailand, Peru, and Vietnam. We are trying to conduct the 5G project. Next one is cybersecurity, especially for the capability building for the cybersecurity. We are conducting the CIDR, CIDO, and SecAct 365. So CIDR is a practical cyber defense exercise, and every year we conducted almost 100 sessions every year. And by this activity, 3,000 participants we have every year. And we expand this activity to the other country like ASEAN, South Asian countries. And in Thailand, we had a center to conduct this practical cyber defense practice. And up to now, a mistake. Up to now, 1,200 people are participated to this to this project. And after that, we also expand this activity to the Pacific small island countries like Palau, the federal states of Micronesia, Marshall Islands, Manu, and Kiribati, and such countries participant was coming to this the practice. And this initiative is open to the also other regions. So if you are interested in, please get in touch with me or the Embassy of Japan anytime. So time is over, so I try to speak more speedy. So next one is the importance of the AI, artificial intelligence, as the previous speaker mentioned. That nowadays, AI is quite important to make effective the ICT systems or improve the people's lives or the industrial activities. But on the other hand, nowadays the people recognize the risk of the generative AI. So discussion was held. AI should be widely used or AI should be controlled by strict regulations. Our position is clear. Japan would like to lead the utilization of the generative AI in the world, and we are in a position to lead to make the rule of the utilization. Last year, we are the presidency of the G7, so we call it Hiroshima AI process. Last year in December last year, the G7 reached a consensus on the guiding principle for organization for all the organization, not only for the developers, but also provider and users, for the people's safety use of the AI. So now this is the time to outreach this consensus. So if later you are interested in, please read it once. Oh, sorry. Yes. So today I also would like to refer the potential of the future cooperation between us. One is the sharing experience knowledge on the digital nations through the seminars and the demonstration project, also. And also the cooperation can be conducted by the international standardization activities and some project that I mentioned. Last one is only my personal ideas or hint for your discussion. I do believe that the DX is quite important. However, DX itself does not give a final solution to you. DX is a tool. So the design is quite important. What kind of DX you are willing to introduce? How to use it? Who will lead it? How to adjust or modify it? Each stakeholder may have the wide variety of opinions and the ideas. So it is quite important to reach consensus by the detailed discussions. And probably in different by region by region, island by island, wide variety of the ideas has provided, I suppose. So each stakeholder should consider in her case what kind of infrastructure we should introduce and how to use it. And from the point of view of the government, in which portion, we should support, and financial organization, how to work the business model in each case. Because not only the initial cost, but also the operational cost and its advancement is necessary. Once the infrastructure is deployed, the daily operation, adjustment, modification, and advancement is necessary. We could not give up. So, sorry for the long presentation, but I do believe that this convention conference is quite important for the future of this region. And we, the Japanese government, in a position to support as much as possible. Thank you very much indeed for your kind attention.
And thanks to you, Mr. Yoshiaki Takeuchi, the Vice Minister for Policy Coordination for the Ministry of Interior and Communications, Japan. Thank you for your presentation. And catch up on some rest based on the time difference, given that it's approaching midnight back home. Ladies and gentlemen, just two housekeeping items. For members of the media, there is an adjustment in your schedule with respect to the proposed media conference. That's intended to take place now at a time to be advised tomorrow, and your editors will be provided with the necessary communication from the organizers. But you're more than welcome to continue, of course, to witness the proceedings here for the duration of today's part of the conference. And for our delegates and participants here in the room, we will take a break for just about 20 minutes, and that's a 2 and a 0, just to be clear. When we make the call outside, it's really to facilitate you a few minutes to get into the room. But we do have an intended start at 1:15 for our Digital Pathway #1 session. So that will start at 11:15 this morning. You will be advised at 10 past to make your way back into the room for a timely resumption. Thank you in advance. Enjoy your coffee or your tea or a light refreshment and mingle. It's important. We'll see you in just a bit. Thank you.